So today we wanted to do a demo and to show you guys how to apply our Chaun and Aprés collab tips. And just a quick introduction to those of you that haven't seen the video. He designed his own special version of Aprés Gel-X tips. Now, what's the difference between his tips and the tips that we already have? His are super sculpted, extra long tapered coffins. We get this question a lot. Are these gonna come out in natural shape? Unfortunately, they will not, because Chaun really only does super sculpted tip shapes, and so his tips are only going to be available in the sculpted just to mimic his kind of look. So there's just no way to mimic his kind of look with that natural shape. Now, what's the difference between his and our coffin long? His have a much higher apex, a much more deeper C-curve, and it's a very tapered coffin. So for those of you who have experience with our sculpted coffin long, you'll know that our sculpted line works for both people with natural nail beds or for curved nail beds. For people who have natural nail beds, but they want that very sculpted acrylic long nail look, you can still use our sculpted line of tips. Now, since his tips are even more sculpted than our regular sculpted coffin long, you might be wondering, how am I going to apply these onto my customer who may have a flatter, wider nail bed without them experiencing any type of like pinching or discomfort or even like a crazy heat spike. So today we're going to go through all of those different tips and give you a quick demo on how to apply these tips. So the minute you guys get your tips, you guys will be able to test them out on your customers. So here I already have one hand done yesterday, and we're going to show you a close-up shot of our side-by-side between these tips and our coffin longs. And here we're going to go into our demo portion of this video. Now, I have very curved nail beds, so I exclusively use the sculpted line of tips. I never ever use our natural line of tips because it just doesn't quite fit me. But still, even though my nail beds are very curved, we're still able to show you the demo of how you would apply these on normal, flatter, wider nail beds. You have to think of the natural nail as a 3D object, and you have to think of this new extension that you're going to put onto your natural nail as a 3D structure. So to keep that sculpted shape, you have to make sure that the apex and the curvature of the extension tip is preserved. So if you're pressing it too hard into the natural nail bed, you're going to flatten out the shape, and you're kind of ruining the integrity of the structure of the sculpted shape. So here we're going to show you how to keep that sculpted shape and to reduce the discomfort that some people may feel. So if you look at my nails, my nail beds are very curved. And yet, still, when we put these tips on, because they are super sculpted, you can see how much empty space there is in between my natural nail bed and the tip. This is what we call our reverse building method. So typically when you do acrylic or hard gels, what you'll do is either use a nail form, a sticker form, or glue a plastic tip that's a half cover, and then you'll use a building method to lay the product on top and build the layers to create your apex and create the extension. Now, since we've done all of that work for you already, what we're calling this is our reverse building method. We're putting gel underneath the tip in between the natural nail and the tip, and we're doing so in a manner where it keeps the integrity of the shape of the sculpted tip. So if you're applying the tip and you think, oh my goodness, I need to make this tip fit onto the nail, let me press it into the natural nail bed as far as I could possibly go so it can be like flat and pressed into the nail bed. This is what happens to the tip. Yes, now it's completely flat with the nail and you think that this is proper structure, but now the curvature of the apex has now been ruined. The base of the tip is now kicking up, and this is going to cause premature lifting. And for the sculpted tips, that is not the correct way to apply them. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to prep our nail tip. We're going to take our file that's included with the set, and we are going to file down the thickness of the base of the tip. You can also choose to do this after the fact, after you've placed the tip onto your natural nails, but it's far easier to prep them prior to applying these tips onto your client's hands. This allows for the base of the tip to be very thin, and so this is usually the blending process of when you're laying acrylic or hard gel. You want a nice ski slope from your natural nails to the extension. So this is our first step, the pH bonder. It dehydrates and dries out any oils on your nails that might prevent the gel from best adhesion. And the second step is going to be our acid-free gel primer. So this is a non-acidic gel primer. It facilitates the best adhesion from the gel to your natural nail. So now we're going to go on with our third step. This is applying the base layer of Extend Gel onto the natural nails. Now, here's a tip on how to apply the Chaun tips onto your customers that have normal nail beds. Sometimes when people use our sculpted tips, they might say that, oh, they feel some pinching or discomfort when they put the sculpted tips on. You're actually not really supposed to experience any type of discomfort when you have the Gel-X tips on. It's all about how you apply the tips. So we're going to show you a tip on how to do this on normal flat nail beds without experiencing any discomfort. We're going to cure that initial layer for 30 seconds. Now, if your customer doesn't have curved nail beds like mine, what you want to do is you want to put a second layer of Extend Gel onto this initial first layer. So normally we'll just do one layer. With these super sculpted tips, what you want to do is 2 layers of this base. This gap needs to be completely filled with Extend Gel. Since these tips are super sculpted, this gap is a little bit larger than what it normally would be with our sculpted coffin lungs, which means that you need to use more Extend Gel when you use these tips. Now, more Extend Gel equals bigger heat spike. So to reduce the amount of heat spike that your customer will feel, you may want to put 2 layers of this Extend Gel before you apply the tip. Now, since I have super sculpted nails, we're not going to do that second layer because doing just this one layer is perfectly enough for me to be able to put on these tips, no problem. But if you have a customer who has natural, flatter, wider nail beds, you do want to do that reverse building process and do 2 layers of the Extend Gel. So now we're going to go ahead by putting the Extend Gel towards the base of the tip. Again, you're going to need to eyeball the amount of gel that you will have to use. You'll get used to how much gel you have to use with these new tips the more you use them. You want to apply the tip at a 45-degree angle towards the base of the natural nails, but never touching the skin, using the opposing thumb as a placeholder, and you'll use your dominant finger. Gently lay the tip till it's parallel to the nail bed and till the Extend Gel flows to the free edge. Once the Extend Gel has flown to the free edge and your tip is straight, you want to go ahead and flash cure to set this Gel-X tip onto your natural nail. You want to flash cure for 10 to 15 seconds each side, meaning the side that her thumb is pressing onto the tip, all of that area of the natural nail, the gel underneath hasn't been cured. So you want to maintain pressure with that opposing thumb, and you want to rotate your X-Light to flash cure the other side of the nail as well. Sometimes you'll notice that when you try to lay the tip onto the natural nail, that there's a bit of a gap at the tip of the natural nail. If that's the case, you can then go ahead and fill in that gap a bit with Extend Gel. Another way to do this is to trim down your natural nails all the way down. And now after you've applied all 5 Gel-X tips to your natural nails using the flash cure method, you want to do a full cure in the LED lamp for 30 seconds. So because there is a bigger gap between the natural nail and the Gel-X tip, you'll notice that you can see the thickness of the Extend Gel when you use sculpted tips or these super sculpted tips. So because Extend Gel is not, it still cures tacky, so what we want to do is we want to use top coat, and we want to cover the parts of the thickness, that thickness of the Extend Gel that's peeking out from the free edge, and then we want to extend that all towards the front of the tip to overlay the underside of the tip, sort of like a semi-hard top coat kind of layer to protect the tips from early wear and tear. And then you want to cure the hand going into the light like this so you can cure the top coat. So now we're done. Instant, extra long, super tapered coffin tips. Now, we say that we're done, but like any professional service, after you apply the Gel-X tips, you should still file and customize the set as per how each manicurist would do it. So now we're going to go ahead and just finish up the set. Even though the shape is perfect already, we just want to go in and make sure that if there's any gel that has oozed out, or if it's not quite straight, you can go ahead and fix it using this step.